I'm back. If you are still here, thank you very much. It turns out it is not my issues. It's no issues on my end because Streamlabs themselves just fucking crashed completely. Shut down. So, if you are still here, please accept my sincerest gratitude. Oh, this is getting ridiculous. Everybody's still here. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. So it turned out the issue wasn't with Spud. The issue was not for one Spud. The issue is my OBS. Don't know why, but no, I noticed my camera froze mid-sentence and then everything went blank. And Streamlabs just completely crashed. So, where were we? Baseball tryouts. They're certainly getting that way tonight. I'm definitely all out of fucks tonight. How do you know when you've completed the tutorial? Because it stops telling you what to do. It takes about 5 minutes. It stops telling you what to do and lets you play on your own. Right. So, 11th of April, 81, and Sue, Sheila and Greg heading over to Quincy from their friends to collect young Rick, who had been at baseball tryouts. While driving, they passed John and his friend Dana Hall Wingate, who were hitchhiking between Quincy and Keddie. So they stopped to pick up the boys, as they would. Now the two boys would later return to Quincy that evening as they had plans and would return home later that evening. So they would go back, go out again and then come back. Because they had plans, they'd made plans in Quincy. Don't know how I'd feel about letting my son hitchhike, but hey ho. Nah, bad ever happens in Keddie, right? That evening, Sheila, the elder of the 5 children, had made plans to stay with friends, the Seabolt family, who lived in the neighbouring cabin. Sue remained home with the boys and their friends Justin and Dana, who were both spending the night. Tina was watching TV at the Seabolt residence and would return home at around 9:30 that night. Around 7 a.m. the following morning, the morning of 12th of April, Sheila would return home to cabin 28, where she would discover the bodies of her mother Sue, her brother John, and his friend Dana. All 3 were bound with medical tape and electrical cords. The younger 3 children, Greg, Rick, and their friend Justin, were completely unharmed in one of the bedrooms. And Tina, the other sister, was missing. And I've got this one the wrong way. Why is that there? That's not the next. I know that's not the next page. Because I've spent a week typing this up. And I only typed that page today. This is one of these days today. Right. I don't know how I got that muddled up. Oh, because I printed it from my laptop and it prints everything backwards. When I'm printing for Spud, it prints last page to front page. Yeah. But for some reason when I'm printing to the laptop, it goes first to last. Right, so. Missing from the house along with Tina were her jacket and shoes, along with a toolbox that held various tools. There was no sign of forced entry, implying that Sue knew the killer or killers. Now, I say killers because 3 people were brutally killed rather easily, and it's doubtful that a single killer would have been able to subdue and kill 3 people on their own. The curtains were also closed, but that might not really be all that important because it was later on at night, so Sue might have closed them herself. The phone was also off the hook and the cord was cut. So whoever did this wanted to make sure that she couldn't phone for, no one in the house could call for help. Because this is in 1981, there was 1 phone per house and it was usually in the kitchen or in the hallway and the cord was cut. Cordless, not a thing back then. So, the killer, or as I believe killers, definitely didn't want them calling for help. Now, so the police, they had a suspect for the start. Martin Smart. Remember him? The abusive husband to Sue's friend Marilyn. Well, he was also father to Justin, the little boy one of the 3 boys that wasn't attacked that night. I'm still missing parts. I'm sorry. I'm never this unprofessional and I apologise wholeheartedly for this complete clusterfuck of a show tonight. I really do. But that whole Streamlabs thing's thrown me for 6 and I've got my pages muddled up. Right, initial reports state that the boys slept through the murders. Justin would later change his story to say that he dreamt about the murders. But then, at a later date, under hypnosis, the young boy remembered hearing strange noises coming from the living room. So he went to investigate, and that is when he saw the killers. The young boy gave a detailed description of the 2 men he had seen. One was clean shaven with long, dark blonde hair. Very true, Care. Very true. and the other one had a moustache and short, greased black hair. Both men wore gold-framed sunglasses. Now remember, this is during the night. However, rather than getting an expert to draw a sketch of the suspects, like most police departments do, the police decided to just get an amateur who liked to volunteer to help the police from time to time. And they ended up with what looked like, I've seen the sketch, it looked like Justin himself drew the pictures. Honestly, a child drew these. No one other one they would be able to catch them. They didn't bother to get a professional sketch artist. They got an amateur with a pencil, and it showed. Now, while hypnotised, Justin also said that John and Dana entered the living room and began arguing with the two men. A fight ensued that only ended when Tina entered the room. One of the men then grabbed Tina and took her out the back door. Now, the murders themselves were pretty vicious and gruesome. There was 2 bloodied knives and a hammer found at the scene. Now, one knife had been used with such force that it was bent at a 30-degree angle during the attack. Blood evidence showed that all 3 murders took place in the living room. Sue was discovered lying on her side near the living room sofa, nude from the waist down, and gagged with a blue bandana and her own underwear, which had been secured with tape. Rape kit was carried out, but there was no signs of sexual assault. She was stabbed in the chest. Her throat was stabbed horizontally, the wound going right through her larynx and nicking her spine. On the side of her head was the imprint matching the butt of a Daisy 880 Powerline BB pellet rifle. Young John's throat was slashed, and Dana suffered blunt force trauma to the head. Both John and Dana suffered blunt force trauma to their heads caused by a hammer or hammers. Autopsies determined that Sue and John died from knife wounds, blunt force trauma, but Dana died from asphyxiation. So as if stabbing this poor boy and beating him in the head with a hammer wasn't bad enough, they decided to suffocate him. A 13-year-old lad. Now, obviously, Sheila, who was only 15 when she discovered this horrific scene, she fled and returned to the Seabolt home to tell them what had happened. Jamie Seabolt, the father and man of the house, would then go to cabin 28 and retrieve the 3 younger boys through the bedroom window. He later, however, admitted to entering the property briefly via the back door to see if anyone was still alive, possibly contaminating the scene. Not that it would have mattered. Sheila and the Seabolt family said that they heard no noise whatsoever coming from cabin 28 during the night. However, a couple that lived in cabin 16 would claim that they were woken at around 1:15 a.m. by what sounded like muffled screams. Like, really, you get woken by screams coming from a neighbouring property. You know it's a single mother with 5 kids living there, and you roll over and go back to sleep. Yeah, great neighbours they were. Several members of the Seabolt family also said that they'd seen a green van parked outside of cabin 28 on the night of the murders at around 9 p.m. So, as we know, because I messed it up, missing for the house along with Tina was her jacket and shoes, along with a toolbox that held various tools. No sign of forced entry, implying that Sue knew the killer or killers. The curtains were closed, but that might have been Sue herself because of the time. And the phone was off the hook and the cord had been cut. The police had a suspect. Right from the get-go, they had a suspect. They thought it was Martin Smart, Sue's friend Marilyn's abusive husband and the father to young Justin, who was in the property at the time. Now, Smart claimed that a claw hammer with a blue handle had went missing from his home. Which, I mean, to be fair, we all lose tools all the time. I spent about an hour a few days ago looking for a measuring tape for something, and I've still no found one. I've got at least 3 in this house and I still can't find a measuring tape. So we do lose tools quite regularly. But I'm not going to report a missing measuring tape to the police. Especially when there's just been a triple homicide and a missing girl. So I don't know why he felt the need to tell the police about this missing hammer. But he did. But Smart also supplied endless clues to the police, which seemed to divert the attention away from himself. He found himself a suspect for several reasons. Sue was apparently trying to get Marilyn to leave him because he was abusive. And his son, who happened to be in cabin 28 at the time of the murders, was completely unharmed, as were the 2 younger boys. In fact, the killers made no attempt whatsoever to enter the room that the 3 younger boys were in. It certainly seemed as though Sue was the target, and the 2 older boys interrupted the killers. They were witnesses, so they also had to be killed. And Tina became a witness. So she was taken for some unknown, I don't want to think about, reason. Living at the time with Smart was his friend John Bobedy. I've been trying to pronounce that all week, and every bloody time I say it differently, but it's Bobedy, and I know that because I've watched several videos in this case. Now, Bobby D had a criminal record at the time. In an interview in 2008, Marilyn Smart, even, would say that she suspected her now ex-husband, and his friend were the killers. Oh, I know. Bo Bobedy. I swear to God that is his name. Bo Bobedy. Now, the trio had been drinking in a local bar, and she left the pair at around 11 o'clock at night to go home to get some sleep. And she claims she woke up at around 2 a.m. and found the pair burning unknown items in the wood stove. She also said that Smart hated Johnny Sharp with a passion. Now, I can't find what John Sharp, to which this is referring, whether it is the father that Sue left, Sue's ex-husband, or if it is in fact the young boy that was killed. I can't see how he would know the ex-husband, but at the same time I can't really understand why he would hate a child with a passion. I can't figure that part out, but that is what Marilyn claimed. But according to Sheriff Doug Thomas, Smart had been interviewed and passed a polygraph. Now, anybody that knows anything about true crimes know that polygraphs are A, inadmissible in court, B, can be faked, you can pass them even if you're lying. They can be fooled. Fooled's the word I'm looking for. They can be fooled. And 3, you cannot use a polygraph if there has been a violent act, because the readings are not what's the word I'm looking for? They're not reliable, because violent acts elicit an emotional response. The polygraph picks that up, and therefore it can give an unreliable or inaccurate result. So polygraphs viable, yeah, thank you. Polygraphs in this instance, even if you did pass it, that you take that with a pinch of salt in a case so violent as this. Now, shortly after the murders, Smart up sticks and left Keddy. And he went to Reno. From there, he sent a letter to Marilyn, talking about the struggles they faced in their marriage. But he also wrote, and this is a direct quote, "I've paid the price of your love and now bought it with 4 people's lives." I've paid the price of your love and bought it with 4 people's lives. Don't know about yours, but that sounds like a confession to me. But investigators pretty much ignored the letter, where he pretty much, in my opinion, confesses to murder. But hey, there was more to the letter, but it was just basically about him saying it wasn't enough, she left him anyway. The rest of the letter went into a pity party. It was like, yeah, I killed these 4 people for you, and you still don't love me. Yeah, well, you're a narcissistic, abusive piece of crap. No wonder she didn't want you. I don't want you either. So, investigators ignored the letter. Smart and Reno also regularly saw a counsellor. And during one visit, he admitted to killing Sue and Tina, but claimed to have had nothing to do with killing the boys. He said he killed Tina because she witnessed the whole thing. Again, the counsellor reported this to the police straight away. The police that were dealing with the investigation. And just like the other confession, they completely ignored that as well. Something stinks in Keddie. I could be wrong. But something's stinking down there. Something's not right. Now, you're probably wondering, because I know I was, what happened to poor Tina? Well, we don't actually know for sure. But on the 22nd of April, 1984, 3 years and 11 days after the murders and her disappearance, the remains of a girl's body were found nearly 100 miles away from Keddie. Shortly after the discovery was made public, an anonymous call identified the remains as those of missing Tina. I've listened to the recording, and the recording clearly states that it is the missing girl from Keddie. It mentions Keddie in particular. I've listened to the recording. Now, that claim, unfortunately, was confirmed by a pathologist in June of 1984. Along with her body, a blue nylon jacket, a blanket, a pair of Levi jeans with a missing back pocket, and an empty medical tape dispenser were found. The recording of the anonymous call was never analysed. Starting to see a pattern here. But now, we don't know how long Tina was alive before. I'm going to say Martin because Smart confessed to killing Peanut and Sue. We don't know how long they kept her alive before disposing of her. Her body was pretty badly decomposed when it was found, and there were, it was skull fragments and that, so she had been dead, unfortunately, for some time, and because of the state of the decomposition, they weren't able to identify how she died either, or what had happened to her, so we don't know. I just hope and pray, not pray because I don't, but I just hope that she didn't suffer. Obviously she died, but I just hope that she didn't suffer. But we're never going to know. Why she was taken from the scene and killed elsewhere is a mystery. When Sue, John and Dana were killed in the home, why wasn't Tina killed there? Why was Tina taken elsewhere? Why were her remains found 100 miles away 3 years and 11 days later? Some reports say that it was exactly 3 years to the day, and some reports say that it was 50 miles away. This is amateur sleuths making YouTube videos. This isn't actual investigators. So I'm more inclined to believe the actual investigators that are, because this was a cold case, but it is no longer. It is back to being an open investigation. But, so I'm more inclined to believe that it was the 3 years and 11 days and that it was 100 miles outside of Keddy that Tina was found. Now, commenting on the case in 2016, when the case was reopened, Plumer County Special Investigator Mike Gamberg, who was 16 at the time of the murders, said that the letter from Smart to Marilyn, thank you, he said that the letter from Smart to Marilyn was overlooked and never admitted into evidence. He criticised the initial investigation, saying that, direct quote, "You could take someone just coming out of the academy and they'd have done a better job." And he's right. He is completely right. They would have. On the 24th of March, kiddo's birthday, 2016, Smart's missing hammer, the blue claw hammer, or the claw hammer with the blue handle, turned up in a local pond and taken into evidence by Gambit. He said that the location it was found at meant that it would have had to have been placed there intentionally and could not have ended up there by accident. He also said at the time that there were 6 potential suspects that were being examined. And in April 2018, he said that DNA evidence recovered from a piece of medical tape found at the original crime scene at Cabin 28 matched a known living suspect. Right? Now, as for Smart and Bobbedy, that really is an unusual name. If they were involved, and I do believe that they were, especially considering Smart confessed twice to 2 different people, they are not going to face any justice. Smart died of cancer in Portland, Oregon, June 2000. And Bobbedy, who had alleged ties to organised crime in Chicago, died there in 1988. Yeah. I don't get this one. It was a simple open and shut case. But nobody was even ever charged, let alone made to trial or convicted. 2 suspects are now dead. And out of the 6 suspects in 2016, only 1 of them's still alive. Their DNA was at the crime scene. What are they waiting for? To me, it almost seems as if they're just waiting for the suspects to die so the case will go away. It's a weird one because it was as if they never wanted to solve the case in the first place. All the evidence was there. Lots and lots of evidence was there. But still the case went cold. and 40 years later they're still, apparently they know who the suspect is, they've got his DNA, but they're not doing anything about it. Hey Charlie. But like Gamberg said, a rookie fresh out the academy could have solved this one. It was very obvious that it was Smart and Bobedy that did this. I mean, there's reports that it was linked to drugs, that it was linked to organised crime, that it was some kind of ritual killing. No, Smart was pissed because Sue was trying to get her friend to leave him because he was an abusive, drug-dealing sack of shit. But nothing was ever done. It was... See, I get where you're coming from with the lazy police work, but they didn't even need to do anything. The guy confessed twice to two different people, and they still never did anything about it. And they never even analysed that recording with the anonymous call saying that it was Tina's body that had been found. Only the person that put her there would know that. Why not analyse the tape and find out if it was Smart or Bobedy? They wanted it to disappear. And it actually angers me, this one. Because this is a mother who was in an abusive relationship, married to a deadbeat abusive husband, and she managed to escape with her 5 kids to somewhere they should have been safe. Small town, nothing ever happens there kind of place, you know. But she ended up being killed alongside 2 of her kids and a friend. And from what I can make out, the whole thing was just swept under the rug for whatever reason. I don't know. They did not want to solve this case. The answers were right there in front of them, in black and white, literally. The guy confessed twice. And still nothing. I mean, it makes me think that was Smart friends with the police. We know that the sheriff once owned the property, or once lived in the property, Cabin 28. Marilyn and Martin Smart lived nearby, so maybe they were friends. Maybe that's why he get covered up. Maybe they were a wee bit intimidated by Bobedy and his alleged ties to the what was the words I used? Oh yeah, organised crime. Whatever they mean by that. But I mean, it's the early 80s, so maybe small town cops were just scared of the big wigs for Chicago coming to. But they didn't seem to want to solve this. They weren't interested. I mean, this woman and her kids, she was. Not just that. Small towns are very, very close knit, and if you're an outsider, you're an outsider, and you know it. They make sure you know it. And I think it was more a case of covering up for their own. Because Marilyn herself didn't come forward until 2008, did I say? Yeah, 2008, before she came forward and said about what she'd seen the night of the murders. Why not say straight away? it definitely, to me, reeks of a cover-up. A small town protecting their own. I could be wrong. Could have been a cult related. It could have been gangland crime. It could have been the ex-husband come back for revenge. But then why not kill the other three boys? I mean, whoever killed them clearly had no issues killing Dana, who wasn't a member of the family. So why leave Greg, Rick and Justin alive if it had been anybody other than Justin's father? And it was mishandled for the beginning, and it is a textbook case of how not to do a murder investigation. Keddie Resort still exists. It is a creepy ass little community with log cabins where people live in full time, and if you go there, people will stand at their window quite obviously watching your every move. I've watched videos while working on this one where people have went to the site and the neighbours are just standing staring, not even trying to hide that they are just pure watching the outsiders. So it is a very close-knit community, and I do think that they were just covering it up. But if you do ever go to Keddie Resort, not that I would recommend it, don't look for Cabin 28. It has been demolished not long after the murders took place. Yeah. It's a wooded area. There's the lake where the missing hammer turned up, and it's all trees and forests, and it's a lot of it's like cabin in the lake type creepy shit, and it's just, but like I said, Cabin 28 no longer stands. It was demolished shortly after the murders, which again makes you think, what? Yeah. Yeah. It is just, it's a very unusual one, and unfortunately it does seem as though they are just patiently waiting in the last of the suspects to die before they turn and go, yay, this was our suspect, because they've had this DNA evidence for 2016, or they've admitted to having it since then, and been able to tie it to somebody, and still they've not made a move on it. So it is genuinely as if they're just waiting on them to drop dead. Because that's it. There was the initial 2, then there was 6 more, so that's 8. And out of the 8 suspects in total, 1 remains. They're there, don't know if it was male or female, but their DNA was found at the scene of the crime. So why have they not made a move? Because they're still covering it up. And it's a shame, because there are still 3 sharp kids surviving. Sheila, Rick and Greg still survived. And they're never going to find out who killed their mum, their brother and their sister. And they're never going to find out why. Because the police don't want people to find out and I don't know why it makes it fucking, I don't know. It's just, it gives me like Strangers vibes, and it's just, it was an odd one to research. I'm glad I did it, because it was a story that I'd not heard of before. So I was quite intrigued by that, especially the more I dug, the more I fun, the more intrigued and confused I got. And I love stories like that. You know, the ones that get the old bit noggin turning and oh my god, Conch, thank you so much for the gifted sub. Thank you so much. Oh, you really didn't have to do that, but that is so appreciated. Thank you so, so much. But so that's it for the Kiddie Cabin Murders. Unfortunately, there's no conclusion to this one, and it doesn't look like there ever will be. And like I said, there's still 3 surviving members of the Sharp family out there, and it sucks. It really does suck for them. But it is what it is. But let me check the book. Nope, that is Christy the Cleek. Why have I taken... That is Haunted Houses. Oh yes, next week we have another Dr. John Glacier story. Senior, not junior. But this is one where our Mr. Glacier got it wrong. For once. So that'll be a good one. Because let's face it, the father and son duo, pathology forensic duo, were absolutely fantastic and never really made mistakes. But I found one where the senior did, and then the week after that I've got a story about Junior, or one of his cases. So yep, next week I've got that. Yous have been hitting me up with your suggestions. They are in the book, and I will be running through them in order. Warning, shameless plug time. Please, 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 if you are able to... Not a problem, Conch. Thank you very much for dropping in, for the raid and the gifted. I really do appreciate it. But like I said, shameless plug. If you can, please drop in to my day streams, which is something unusual for me, where I will be playing Raid Shadow Legends, because for 1 week they are sponsoring me. So if possible, click the link, use the code, get the freebies, and complete the tutorial. And I will be on probably tomorrow afternoon, because I've got the opticians and I'm meeting the little one for a coffee. So tomorrow afternoon I will be on with a bit of raid gameplay. So that should be fun. Yous are most very welcome. Sorry again for the technical issues tonight. Everything has been working so well recently, and then just boom, everything fell apart tonight. So, yay! But I'm going to call it there. because I need to go and take all of this off and then get to my bed because I'm absolutely shattered. But like I said, I will be back tomorrow during the day with some Raid Shadow Legends. Until next time, bye bye now.